And we are back. Wow, it feels like it's been a lot longer than it has, but it's only been delayed by 2 days.
Yeah, literally.
Really?
That's what I said. It is technically longer, but
Right.
yeah, it's only been
But
2 days.
welcome back, guys, to the Book Club Bros podcast. We are reading through right now the Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson.
Yeah,
And
it says biography in the back.
absolutely beefy book. And we just finished up part 2 of the book, which was from page 154 or 155 all the way up to 312. So chapter 24 to 50, another 25 chapters in a week. Cruising. It's a good read, but overall thoughts, guys, on this section.
More craziness.
Just more absolutely the theme of Elon's life is drama
Chaos.
and oh my goodness. Is this is the part of we find out his girlfriend, right? Amber Heard. In this.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Oh
twist.
my goodness.
Yeah,
Can't
it's
wait to
crazy. We're
dive in.
reading a book every single time we come back to do this podcast.
Yeah.
It's like our little mini 150-page book every week.
And it feels like a book too,
It
man,
does
because
feel
it's
like a book.
absolutely just so much is packed in. But diving right in, chapter 24, the SWAT team. This is with Tesla, during Tesla, 2006 to 2008. And overall, we know a little bit about the SWAT team, which is Antonio Garcias and Tim Watson. They're the ones that basically saved and optimized Tesla, from what I understand from this.
Yeah, this is where they were in just like production, nightmare where it just was so expensive. They were finding out like we're not going to be able to make this
Yeah.
car cost that much.
Yeah.
Like, we got to make tweaks to it.
Yeah, and Antonio Garcias, right off the bat, a little bit about him was when he was 12 years old, he asked for an Apple computer, and not the computer itself, but the Apple's company stock. So his mom bought him 10 shares for $300, and he still owns them today. That's over $490,000, and he did that when he was 12. It's crazy.
When is the time to sell that then?
Never, because you make dividends.
Oh, the just take the dividends from it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, well, unless or when you're ready to retire.
Just cash out.
Just absolutely
right.
cash out, but crazy. And then Tim Watkins also just wild. What was he doing? They were another genius about his electroplaning company, because he had a small factory in Switzerland. I thought it was just so interesting.
The way he lined it up to get 24 hours of production, like that was.
Yeah, I thought it was so interesting just knowing that, like, just the background of like how the cells were made, where they were created in Tokyo and then made over in Thailand. Like these battery packs traveled the entire world before they were even put into the car, which I thought was super interesting.
And managing 2 different companies where that's like kind of the baseline. Like he was over in whatever that place was overseas. I can't remember the name of it now. I think it started with a T.
Thailand?
Or Kijwak or Kija. Or no, for SpaceX.
Oh, yes.
Whenever he was like doing the same exact thing, Kawaj or whatever it was, where he's like, oh, okay, in order to be able to test this or be able to actually test these rockets, we're going to have to fly across the country just to get the testing site. So, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, obviously, you can understand why there's so much I mean, we've used the word chaos already, but just chaos in this guy's life.
Yeah.
With like trying to manage that.
No,
It's nuts.
never took no for an answer. Would always figure out some sort of thing. But anything else? 24? Jumping over?
No, I just thought it was funny how he was telling everybody don't go on strike or go on vacation right now or else everything will be done for. So that's how dire the situation was.
Yeah.
It was a pressurized situation.
25, taking the wheel. Tesla, 2007 to 2008. Martin Eberhard was the original founder of Tesla, and there's a little photo of him with the Roadster. And definitely beef between Eberhard and Musk was what we found out in this one. They just did not like each other, and the author makes a good point that there's not many people where Elon won't forgive, but unfortunately Eberhard was one of those people.
He felt like he was lied to about the pricing.
Well, didn't Eberhard not know the pricing? Was that it?
They didn't have exact. I think they said that we were dealing with pricing information that they had. They weren't lying. They were just not. I guess they weren't as informed as Musk wants to be, because you've seen how detailed Musk is with
Yeah.
like his calculations. So whenever it comes down to that, he probably just felt betrayed.
That sounds like a lawyer response, though.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
We were working with what we had. This is everything that we had, and that was it. But
Yeah, so they tried to kick him out. They voted him out while he was on vacation.
Oh wait, Musk, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they tried to, and then he came back, and then the interim CEO leaves, and then Musk takes over.
So they got toxic. This is where they got toxic with each other, where Musk was like, getting involved with Eberhard was the worst mistake I've ever made in my career.
Yeah.
And then they came up with a clause to be like, hey, you guys need to like stop talking about each other. And then it just says
yeah,
Musk couldn't help himself. He goes on to say later, he's literally the worst person I've ever worked with. I wish I had never met him. Just like,
this guy.
it's so funny. He's just gonna speak his mind. He doesn't care. But yeah, then they hired that interim CEO, and
But I
that
thought
didn't last.
no.
Because he didn't work well. He didn't like the way that Elon treated his employees.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting though that Mark's take on Michael, or was it Michael Marks? Yeah, Michael Marks, the intern CEO, his take on Musk saying, quote, I've come to put him in the same category as Steve Jobs, which is some people are just assholes, but they accomplish so much that I have to just sit back and say, that seems to be a package. Does that, I ask, excuse Musk's behavior? Maybe if the price the world pays for this kind of accomplishment is a real asshole doing it, well, it's probably a price worth paying. That's how I've come to think about it anyway. Do you guys agree with that?
I feel like I don't know. If that's how you have to get stuff done, and it seems like they both have those traits. It's like, yeah.
I feel like at the end of the day, it's the results produce them, kind of explain themselves. So it's one of those things where it's like that. I think that's a way to get things done.
Yeah.
I think I think you only work with what he may have thought that this was the only way, and with his the hand he was dealt as far as employees, like you just never really know. So he may have felt like this is the only way I can do it, like by being this way. But you've seen other successful people do. I mean, I'm assuming there's other successful people out there that have done.
At
It's
his
tough
level.
it's tough to relate
Right.
like apples to apples, as far as like maybe someone else isn't trying to be involved in electric or space travel and stuff like that, but someone else who's like a true, just like kind of, I don't know what you want to call them, innovator or something like that. Like, are they out there where it's like, oh, this person was just like, they were able to accomplish so much because everyone loved them and everyone wanted to work super hard for them, compared to the flip side of that coin where everyone was scared of them and everyone had to work hard for them.
Right.
Like, I can't think of this specific example, but I feel like that's just like the contrast in like leadership styles.
Mm-hmm.
But these two did seem to share that between Jobs and Elon.
All right, moving on. Chapter 26, divorce with the Miss Justine.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
God, this feels like I really feel like this was such a
Dude,
Right?
for real. I was just like, but then again, that last chapter, I was like, I felt like I just read this. It's like, I'm definitely bouncing back and forth between it.
Yeah. After Nevada's death, it just was rough.
Yeah, but they had more children together.
They
Yeah.
did. They had 3
Kyle,
kids.
Saxon, and Damien, the triplets.
Yep. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see a little bit of his father's personality kind of bleed through in the way that he talks through. That's always tough.
Yeah.
It's always tough whenever it's like, gosh, you're so influenced. I mean, I don't know what they tell you, but you're so influenced by what you are, by what you're going to become whenever you're a kid. So you either, like, that's almost like, I look at it kind of as like, that's going to be your default setting. And if you want to become better, you have to fight whatever you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't want to be the person that bullies and stuff like that, if you were constantly bullied or whatever, or you were the bully, like, to either grow out of that, like, you're gonna have to fight it because you kind of had lived that way for either lived that way or lived in it. Like, that's the scary thing with having kids, is that people want to, like, just you've heard stories of, like, just want to have kids because I want to, like, have the power that my parents had over me, like, type thing. That's a scary complex.
That's terrible, bro.
Yeah.
Any other things for chapter 26?
It was just interesting how it forced her to get into psychology. And after she got into psychology, she started to realize why he was acting like that. But it's kind of like, too little, too late
Yeah.
type of deal because the damage is done.
It's tough.
Yeah.
They even tried to go to counseling too, but Elon doesn't seem like the one to maybe give counseling a real shot, and that kind of turned out to be true.
Yeah. All right. Jumping to one partner to the next. Chapter 27. Tallulah Riley in Hyde Park, London. Her famous British actress. And 2 weeks engaged. Just like that. Elon Musk knows what he likes and strikes. But I thought this was also interesting. I think it's not in this part, but later. They didn't get married for a while, though.
Yeah.
But they got engaged really quickly.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
2 years or something.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
But-
I thought it was crazy that, like, he was, like, talking to her and all this stuff like that, and then she goes home, starts telling people about him, and then you're like, yeah, he's married with kids. And she was like, what? And she calls him freaking out, but then he's like, oh, no, his, I think she either had a friend or who was it? She called her friend who calmed her down and assured her that he had broken up with his wife, like that they were separated. But, yep, he started flying her back, and... Yeah, I mean, me and Chase laughed about that morbid part where he's like, what's the worst that could happen to us whenever they were talking about getting married? And he's like, well, one of us could die. She's like, somehow in that moment, I found that very romantic. Yeah, this is match made in heaven, I guess.
Strike 3, Chapter 28, Quaj, August 3rd, 2008.
There we go.
The third flight.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah.
Nope.
Not really.
That's what they said.
That's what
they hoped.
Hey, that's what they hoped. And unfortunately... Basically, Musk had run out of money. Tesla was hemorrhaging cash, and SpaceX has crashed 3 rockets. So third one blew up. They are down to their final one after that.
And they decided to come up with, like, they had to launch it within 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, he set this just unrealistic deadline to try and get it done in 6 weeks because I feel like, I mean, that had multiple reasons, but, like, you got to, like, have something successful happen or you're just going to be viewed as a failed company.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, like all the employees, which was a real big shift, is all the employees thought they were done after that third blow up. But only Musk was like, no, we can do one more.
Yeah.
And
We'll
that
find a way.
would be it.
To find a way to get the money for it.
Yeah. Chapter 29, On the Brink, Tesla and SpaceX, 2008. So this is where...
he kind of talks a little bit about how hard it is to create a car company. Like, obviously it wouldn't be easy, but he talks about even the success rate. Like the only successful American company that had not gone bankrupt was Ford.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's what they were up against. It's one of those things where it's just like, do you want, that's how like the top stay at the top is because whenever you realize how hard it is to get your name into the market and stuff like that, like it's really, once you're in, like, it seems, I mean, we live in Florida and there's Teslas everywhere.
Yeah.
So Tesla is in. But at this point in time, it says like at that moment, they were unclear that Tesla would become the second successful, like U.S. car company. So that's kind of crazy.
Also, this was where he was being told like he should focus on one thing.
Right. Oh, yes.
Like,
yeah.
Which is just so crazy because, I mean, juggling both of those juggernauts at the same time is just... I mean, we see what happens later on, but yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot of work.
The way he described it was so Elon Musk, where he was like, the more people pressed him to choose, the more he resisted. He was like, for me, it's like you have 2 kids running out of food. You can give half to each kid, in which case they might both die, or give all the food to one kid and increase the chance that one lives. I couldn't bring myself to decide that one was going to die. So I decided to give my all to save both. And I was like, that's an interesting perception.
Yeah, I really like that because it just really truly showed that like he cared about both.
Yeah.
Which isn't like, I don't think that you would have to be insane to question how much he cares.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to be insane. You can think he's insane for caring that much, but you could not question how much he cares.
Yeah, I thought it was just crazy. So yeah, they were strapped with cash.
Started dipping into the Roadster. This is where it talks about dipping into the Roadster like pre-orders.
Yeah, and then they also raised more money from his friends. Sergey Brin of Google invested $500K. Tesla employees wrote checks.
He took money from basically everyone except for Tallulah's parents.
Yeah.
who offered him money. He declined that one.
But I thought it was crazy that Musk borrowed personally to cover his own expenses, which because he was going through the divorce, and his lawyers
Bro, that fee
was
is-
$170,000 per month.
that's
Divorce lawyers. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, which is crazy. Which I didn't know, as California law requires of the wealthier spouse those of Justine. So like he was paying for both lawyers for this divorce. Wow.
170K
That's
a
crazy.
month.
A month.
Man, you need to look into the laws
Blowing
before you start to
cash.
do stuff. Look into the laws. Can we get
Blowing
divorced somewhere
cash.
else?
But moving on, chapter 30, the fourth launch, the
fourth
final
one.
Kawaj, August to September 2008. This is the 6 weeks where everything was put together.
This was when he got the surprise funding from his PayPal
Yeah,
co-founders,
the co-founders,
which is
the mafia.
It's the example where he decided not to burn that bridge, and eventually, it served as a lifeline to allow him to fund his fourth launch. So that was a cool moment for him, because that's definitely, it seems out of character for him to not kind of just go haywire and be kind of not resentful, but just like not really try and care about other people's emotions maybe necessarily,
Yeah.
by trying to just keep that an option and just kind of gracefully going. It surprised everyone, and they ended up coming back to help him
Yeah.
when they're at their lowest. Like if it was failed launch number 1 and he needed their help, they'd be like, oh, you failed number 1, like that makes sense, like you can probably still do it. If you fail 3 straight times, it may start to turn into like a, hey, this may not be a thing that you got, like that you're close to
Yeah.
figuring out,
And it's not a small
the
chunk
optics
change.
of it.
You
No,
know?
20 million.
20 million. 20 million to, and when you go, hey, I really believe in you. In the fourth one, what happened to your first 3? Oh, they all blew up.
Right.
Okay. 20 million. Yeah, that's a big
And
bet.
they did it on a tighter deadline. There was 12 months before the first and second. Then it was 17 months between the second and third, and they had to do this one in 6 weeks.
Yeah. And this one almost failed too, because they were shipping the
That was
rocket
That was
and the
crazy.
C-17 or whatever,
Mhm.
and then one of the things almost exploded, but then an engineer like squeezed in there and released the valve.
They could, yeah, it was like the pressure was off.
Yeah. But
Hey, that's the part where they sent the code up to the rocket, right?
no, that's
No. This
I
is
think
something.
that's
This is
later.
when they're flying the rocket over to test it, and like while the rocket's on the plane or whatever it is, it starts like the pressurization's off and it starts denting.
right. And
starts
they're like,
yeah,
they're like, hey,
yeah.
you gotta, what was it? You gotta keep flying, because if you
Yeah.
go
No,
down,
they said go back up. Yeah, go
Yeah.
back up, and then they eventually got it to
he's
release.
like, guys, we only have 30 minutes of fuel. You have to fix it in 30 minutes.
Yeah, literally, that's crazy.
High
But
pressure.
yeah, so just and so yeah, fourth is the charm. Falcon 1 finally made history as the first privately built rocket to launch from the ground and reach orbit. Musk and his small crew of just 500 employees, comparable to Boeing's division that had 50,000 employees, had designed the system from ground up and done all the construction on its own. Crazy.
And yeah, it's just crazy how you get to get a small picture. Like he says, there was a sense of relief, like being spared from death, but no joy. He was too stressed for that. And it just gives you like a vantage point where it's like, if that's kind of the cost of like, trying to be this big, life changer,
Mhm.
like legitimately trying to change the lives of everyone, is where it's just like, oh, you can even see it in movies where it's just like, oh, what about this person's feelings? And what about like what they would want to do if they could just, if there was like time could stand still. But the fact that time doesn't stand still and you feel like you need every waking moment, like it's just a constant mission to complete this so you can move on to the next thing. Like we talked about it last podcast, how they're about to launch Falcon 1 the first time before it fails. And he's talking about Falcon 5 or Falcon 9, where he's just like, oh my gosh, like that's tough.
Yep. And then at the very end of the chapter,
Got that contract.
got that contract, got that money, boy.
Yeah.
NASA comes in, awards him a $1.6 billion
With
contract
a B.
Right.
to make 12 round trips to the space station. And Musk
Change his
says, I
password.
love NASA. And
It's-
changes his password on his computer login to I love NASA. That's hilarious.
After suing them and having all that stuff go on with
Yes.
them. It's so funny.
But moving on, chapter 31, saving Tesla.
Now he's
in
got to go to
December.
his other business.
Exactly.
Right
He's
back.
got one that seems to have cash. So we're good there, but moving on. And Yeah.
So he needed to get the whole group to approve this funding thing, and he had this Vantage Point Capital person like refusing to kind of like agree. It seemed like everyone was on the same page except for this one person, and it had to kind of be unanimous. So they got into a shouting match, and but really, I mean, he ended up not doing it.
Yeah, he backed out.
Yeah, he backed out.
So then he got another VC.
Yeah, he said that. Musk was like, he's just relishing the chance to like delay it and look me in the eye whenever I need this to be done right now. He's making me do it on his time.
Yeah.
And he's gonna say no anyways, and then that's what happened. But
yeah. And then he got a key investment from the Dalmer, which I thought this was crazy. So over the years, one criticism of Tesla has been the company was bailed out or subsidized by the government in 2009. In fact, Tesla did not get money from the Treasury Department Troubled Asset Relief Program, commonly known as the bailout. Under that program, the government lent $18.4 billion to General Motors and Chrysler as they went through bankruptcy restructuring. Tesla did not apply for TARP or any stimulus package money. What Tesla did get in June was $465 million in interest-bearing loans from the Department of Energy program. The Advanced Technology Vehicle Manufacturing Loan Program lent money to companies to make the electric or fuel-efficient cars. So, anyways, but Tesla was the only one to pay that entire investment off, and then on top of that,
$12 million worth of interest.
Yeah, with a long $12 million interest, and then also got some fat cash from Stuttgart's headquarters, the Daimler executives, which created the smart car, is what I thought. You remember smart cars?
Yeah.
You tell me that's where smart cars went? They became Tesla?
Yeah.
Oh, I do remember smart cars.
You remember that?
Yeah.
The little tiny meeps?
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Bought that out. It's also crazy that he's the only one that actually ended up repaying that money. So it's like it says that Ford has, as of 2023, Ford still owes the money they took out in loans.
Crazy.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, what in the heck?
Yep.
Nissan repaid it, I guess, in 2017. Fisker went bankrupt, but
Model S, Chapter 32, Tesla 2009. This is where we start figuring out the design. And who is it? Hey, Henrik Fisker, the like name brand, typical designer, comes in and tries to make it look like a something like stupid. He says, an effing egg on wheels is what Musk says about his design. And
so
then
gets rid of him and brings in the guy who sketched the Aston Martin design. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. After just graduating.
Aston Martin DB9 and the BMW Z8. So had a bit of a taste for style.
Yeah.
Yeah, he I like his description that he used. He's like, whenever he's talking about like trying to make a good looking model and how it's not going to look the same if you try and like just how the details and stuff matter. Just like, make that dress for my wife. It doesn't look the same, but you make that dress on a model and it's going to look a certain way. But you take that exact dress, put it on my wife. If she's not a model, then it's going to look like this. So like trying to have to really deal with the intricate details of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it just really shows like how much thought went through for the Model S. And I thought it was just funny, like hearing some of the little bit of the regulations. Like I didn't realize that the government regulations require a physical button for the, what was it? The glove compartment. But like Musk was adding, fart sounds for the passenger seat, different horn sounds, Easter egg jokes and stuff like that. But they have to have this button. Such a weird thing.
And then you move on to the Fran von Holzen guy, which is who he ends up having designed the car.
Yep.
And this is where it's kind of crazy. It says this ends up being one of his few calming and non-dramatic relationships that he would have professionally and personally. So like this guy turns out to be, one of his really good business partners / friends, which you don't see. I mean, gosh, I don't know that we've seen any of those yet because even his best friend from college had to end up not working with him. So he's like one of the first ones you've seen be able to really make it work between like getting his designs. It's not the most like, what do you call it? Like he's not like, it doesn't all hinge on him as far as like the production and the stuff like that. He's just trying to make a pretty looking car and stuff. So it's probably the less kind of less potential for something to ignite there as far as like a fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing too, just like was so revolutionary was how he made all the cars connected, and he could just update via software.
Yeah.
And just like he said, it allowed the car to continue to get better when you were originally bought it. Like, and that still to this day doesn't seem to happen in any other any other type of manufacturer. But I always hear from all the time, like Tesla owners are like, oh, yep, just got a new update. Now it self-drives 20 times better.
Well, I mean, you can either do that or you can just keep producing new cars and make people have to buy an updated version, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole, he's trying to, I mean, that was his thing, release a super nice car and then drive the price down and make it like affordable for everyone.
Yeah.
He's getting money in so many different ways. It's kind of nice to have someone that's trying to like, make that an option.
Yep. Jumping to chapter 33, flexing a little photo with Elon Musk and Obama right there as he tours Cape Canaveral with them. Private space, SpaceX 2009 to 2010. So that fast forward in a year, they got the Falcon 9 now, Dragon, and Pad 40. So this is where
5 engines instead of 1. They had to make all type of modifications.
Oh,
in
yeah.
this thing. 10
for
times
the
more
Falcon
powerful.
5. Yeah.
12 times heavier.
Yeah. So they definitely scaled up, and then they reached out to NASA about renting out one of their launch pads over in Cape Canaveral. And then they do get that one, and then Obama tours it and talks about, the private sector doing it and stuff like that from here. And it seemed like Obama and Musk kind of respected each other, but didn't see completely eye to eye, is what I was feeling.
He said he felt like the president was just trying to feel him out.
Yeah.
If he was like really like legit, which was kind of funny to see because it's like I can't even imagine that dynamic with them two just having convo.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on. Chapter 34, Falcon 9 liftoff, 2010. This was a big one because it was the largest ever they've done. 9 rockets, and the Falcon 9 attempted its first unmanned test voyage into orbit. The Falcon 1 had failed 3 times before being successful, and this rocket was far bigger and more complex. And then
and as with everything, right before it's about to take off, there's like many problems.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He's just like, all right, just do it.
Exactly.
The
antenna.
Yeah, they used a
Just
blow dryer
to air it out, right? To dry it out.
Yeah, like that's.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect. Yeah, it was like, the next morning the radio frequency checks were not perfect, and still Musk said just send it.
And after 8 years, they were now the most successful private rocket company in the world.
Crazy.
After they complete that.
Jumping back to his relationship, chapter 35, marrying Tallulah. They went to the Kentucky Derby, and I thought it was interesting that there was a quote of him talking to her saying, being with me can be difficult. He told her, this will be a hard path. So he even knows that, like,
I thought it was
It's
interesting. He
difficult.
went through with it knowing that like she was Christian and Catholic, and like man, religion.
got married in the church.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
religion tends to be one of the if one is not, one is and one isn't. That leads to a major divide most of the time. They don't recommend that for sure.
Yeah.
So that was
They had a hovercraft in a situation.
Apparently
you need like
a permit or something like
for
that.
that.
Yeah, she liked to
Oh,
throw.
yeah.
She liked to throw him these extravagant
Crazy
parties. It's just-
parties.
yeah, they have a weird dynamic, kind of. I mean, he's up to this point. He's kind of choosing people that he's a little bit superior over, and then it's just like kind of just letting them do their own thing because he's so busy. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, he kind of, just to put it like plainly, like he kind of just needs like either side chicks or just like girls that just like him and want to hang out with him on the like once a month.
Right.
Because this dude is doing so much stuff. It's just like, how in the world do you expect? Like, he kind of gets close to that here coming up with one of his relationships. But, like, it's like, man, how are you, like, I don't, it's feel, because you feel sad for him because I feel like the only reason he's doing this is because he doesn't want to be lonely. So, for, like, in those times, in the 1% of the month where he's not working, he doesn't want to be lonely during that 1%. So So he wants his wife at that point in time.
Yeah.
Then what about the 99%? Like,
Mm.
that's just like impossible, man.
Yeah. Musk did not have many stable and grounded relationships, nor did he have many stable and grounded periods of his life. No doubt those two things were related. Because did they
But I mean,
break
but
up?
whenever they were
yeah.
together, though, it does say that, you know, from 2018 until their second divorce, it ended up being the longest stretch of stability. So, like, it seems like she tried.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it seems like she really tried for him to be there and to kind of be a distraction, I guess. Like, she even sang for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. When she didn't want to.
Yeah.
Moving on, chapter 36, manufacturing, Tesla, 2010 to 2013.
This is when it starts to get crazy.
Yeah, this is where it starts picking up. I didn't realize that Toyota invested $50 million into Tesla.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. It's so wild. Like, you're like what? Aren't you guys supposed to be competitors? How are you
Well,
funding the other?
It's kind of funny, too, because by doing that, you're probably making money off of them as they grow. So it's kind of helping you. It's
Right.
almost kind of like evil genius.
Yeah.
Weird way.
Yeah. But unfortunately, as the Model S kind of rolls off, there are some production quality issues. What is he? But a few days later, when Musk was delivered his own Model S from the production line, he was not happy. More precisely, he declared that it sucked. He asked von Holtzin to come to his house, and they spent 2 hours going over the vehicle. Quote, Jesus Christ, is this the best we can do? Musk said. The panel finish gap is crap. The paint quality is crap. Why aren't we getting the same production quality as Mercedes and BMW? So clearly, spent all that money and did not make the best product. So
Yeah.
back to the drawing board. And then everything starts getting crazy because the Model S was finally getting better, but then the real challenge of the Model 3 was the next plan, which was the mass adoption of the vehicles that Musk was planning. And what else happened? Oh, they agreed to the giant Nevada battery gigafactory. And this was a partnership with the battery supplier Panasonic, which you never hear about them.
Yes, bro. Exactly.
And to tie it up, he just basically had them start building it ahead of time.
Yes.
It's like, hey, this is proof. We already got the bulldozers out here. It's going down. Are you going to be part of it or not?
Before getting the finance of $2 billion
Yes, bro.
in that type
Agreed
of
to be a
partnership,
40% partner.
which is just crazy.
$2 billion.
And then they go to dinner. Everything's good. Da-da-da. Yeah, and that was good. So, yeah, that locks that in. Gigafactory's getting built. 40% from Panasonic. $2 billion finance. And but even the Panasonic, what was it? The CEO, the owner said, like, we are a 95-year-old company. We have to change. We have to use some of Elon's thinking. So,
Just took a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Just trusted him.
yeah.
Just trusted him.
Jumping over to 37, Musk and Bezos.
This
This is where the beef starts with them.
This was interesting.
This is when Bezos is obviously doing Amazon, is a billionaire at this point in 2013, but he wants to start doing his own space thing as well. And
So when did you guys hear about Amazon? When would I feel like you'll know, you'll be more familiar with it than so when did you start using Amazon?
I don't know. I really don't remember.
Because we talked about this a little bit, me and Chase did. I'm pretty sure the first time I ever used Amazon was my sophomore year of college. Whenever someone's like, dude, you can get your textbooks off Amazon used, and you don't got to get them brand new from the bookstore and pay $1,200.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this even real? Like, is this allowed? And they're like, yeah, dude, this is what it is. So I was like, okay, I mean, I'll try it out. And I got my textbooks off of Amazon, which is what put me onto Amazon. And then, like, after that, like, I would get stuff every once in a while. Like, I would get, like, just go to Amazon and search, like, cool floating speakers because I wanted a speaker for my room in college. I was like, oh, my gosh, this has a speaker that just has a little ball that hovers. This is really cool. I'm going to get that. And, like, they just had decent prices for random stuff. But, like, I didn't even know about Amazon. This would have been 2017.
yeah.
2017. He's a billionaire by July or by
13.
2013.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know that how could he be a billionaire without just like
Yeah,
that's what
right.
blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, so when do you guys remember being familiar with Amazon?
I think I was around high school, maybe a little earlier.
So what were you doing on Amazon?
I think it was buying textbooks. Same thing.
In
Getting
high
the
school, you were buying
textbooks.
textbooks?
Really?
Like it was some, maybe it was college.
Are you sure it wasn't? That's what I'm saying. Like I mean, because my first thing was textbooks, but that's for me.
I can't remember. though, exactly.
Surely
It
at
was
that
around
point in time they already had other stuff up there. But like for me, it was textbooks.
Mhm.
My sophomore year of college.
Because didn't it start out as like a book?
Yep.
Thing?
Yeah.
That was his.
That's all they did was books. Yeah. Out of his garage.
But by 2013, but like by 2017, I'm sure all that stuff was up there. I didn't just happen to stumble onto speakers after that and then just figure out it was like all this other stuff. So I'm trying to think when do you think it transitioned? And because I was gonna see if you were like familiar with it in 2015, like junior year of high school, and you're just like, oh yeah, like they were.
Maybe I don't know.
But like
I
I'm
don't know
thinking about it, and
exactly.
I'm like, dude, I was sketched out by Amazon in college,
Yeah.
and by this point he was billions in dollars in already.
Yeah.
So I just find that so
Well, don't worry.
fascinating.
My next book will be Bezos, and I think it's
My
700 pages.
gosh.
So.
Oh my
No,
gosh,
just
this
joking.
guy.
But focusing back on Jeff Bezos, he gets into space and he tries to get 39A to launch his own reusable rockets, and there's some beef between him and Elon Musk about whose rocket's better.
This company's called Blue Origin.
Blue Origin.
Blue Origin.
After the Blue Planet, and I think it was a comic or something, Star Trek, and we basically
they started off okay though. Like they started off just like
Oh,
touring
yeah.
each other's places. I thought it was funny how Musk asked Bezos to review Justine's book, and he said he doesn't tell Amazon to do that, but he'll
put a
go
personal
leave his own
review.
personal review.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But the beef started coming from reusable rockets. Who was going to be able to actually get a reusable rocket? Because both of them knew that if you can get a reusable rocket, that means it's viable for like actual space travel. But yeah, so then what happens is with the reusable rocket, Bezos comes out of nowhere and drops a patent for the reusable rockets, and then Musk sues Bezos, or SpaceX sues Bezos, and Bezos agreed to have the patent canceled.
Yeah, he's like trying to do that is trying to put a patent on something that people have been discussing for half a century. Century is obviously ridiculous.
Yeah.
He said Bezos agreed to have the patent canceled.
But the beef starts there, and then it actually starts going on the Twitter later in
funny.
it. But chapter 38, the Falcon hears the Falconer, and this is where it actually the first time where the Falcon rocket is reusable, but not before Musk not before Bezos, because then Bezos tweets at it. They tweet like, "Oh, this is the first one ever." Da 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 da. And Musk says, "No, it's not. You didn't even hit orbit or something. Like, you little grasshopper." They're talking about these ginormous rockets.
It's also a bad time for SpaceX because you have a little bit of Bezos trying to pump himself up for his success, and then right before that, Falcon 9 failed for the first time in 7 years. So like,
Yeah.
it was a little bit of a downtime for SpaceX too. So there was definitely, there's a lot of pettiness there. You would imagine.
Yep. But once again, risk was always with Elon. On this one, the Falcon 9, the new one where he said, this is the first test for the reusable portion. He just says, F it, let's go, runs it, and then...
There was another problem. There was drips. Yeah, they were like, oh, we don't know if it's this or that. If it's this, it's going to mess it up. If it's that, it's not.
Yeah.
And boom.
Yeah, and Elon just...
Liftoff went flawlessly.
Flawless. And then tweet, congrats SpaceX on landing the Falcon suborbital booster stage. Bezos wrote in a tweet, welcome to the club.
Yeah, bro, I was reading that and I was giggling. I'm like,
Dude, it's so
these dudes are
funny.
crazy.
Yes.
Chapter 39, the Tallulah roller coaster, 2012 to 2015. Oh man,
He's back.
he
The roller coaster.
crazy birthday party over here, wrestling a sumo dressed up as a knight.
Yeah.
In the bottom. Yeah, the parties were crazy. But then is this where
She files for divorce
Yep.
because she's feeling neglected.
Yep.
But then right before they get,
This was crazy. Yeah.
they're in the where are they? They're in court. They see each other standing there right in front of the
like
judge.
out of a movie.
Yeah. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
I love you.
What the hell are we doing
love
here?
each
And they
other.
started kissing. They went back, but then
Dude, I want to see that. I want that courthouse
yeah, they still
footage.
got
I want that courthouse footage of
right.
That happening.
just the look on everyone's face. Like,
Oh, my.
guys, we don't really care
It's
about
like they do that. They finalize the divorce, and then like they just start hanging out again. Like it's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they do actually end up splitting, but they
Yeah.
just end up staying together for a while.
Chapter 40, artificial intelligence. This is where it gets on Musk's radar about just like the importance of it and how it's a tool and how it can be abused. And this really showed a little bit of a dark side of Google,
Yep.
which I thought was crazy. Just like how Elon Musk wanted to create a, what was it, kind of like a
Safety, kind of like a
not a community, but like almost like a board
Yeah.
where it would be
yeah.
AI has to adhere to.
yeah, certain requirements.
Yeah.
And then Musk or who was it? Larry
The
Page from Google.
Intention of focusing on AI safety and stuff like that. And yeah, the guy at Google basically doesn't want to do it, then kind of agrees to like let there be a board. They have like one meeting, and then it's basically was nothing.
Yeah. And then Musk quotes, "The future of AI should not be controlled by Larry Page of Google."
And I underlined 2014 is when this is happening. And then you think about how long it's been since then.
Yeah.
Like
10
'cause
years.
AI has just really made its entry into the public.
Yeah, and
this was forever ago.
right, and
Like,
that
that's
photo
what's spooky.
and that photo with at the beginning, chapter 40, Sam Altman is the guy who was ahead of ChatGPT. That guy. So this is way back in 2012, 2015 is when that all started. So that's where OpenAI, which is known for ChatGPT and all that. So Elon Musk was involved with that, but then
Tries to get Obama back on board and say, hey,
Yeah.
this is he sets up a one-on-one meeting just to let him know. And it's one of those things where it's like, and he kind of talks about this in the podcast that he does. I don't know I think we're about to get to that point where he goes on the podcast with Joe Rogan, where he's just like, I mean, people in politics, like, he thinks that they should have more of a fundamental understanding with like some science and just like some certain things like that, because like it's the whole thing where like we're finally reaching a point where people are like, look, these old politicians and governors and people in the Senate and whatever, like they're somewhat out of touch with what's going on. Like you'll see them show up in a courtroom where they're talking about TikTok and they'll be like, what is this? What is TikTok?
yeah.
What is TikTok? Like it's just one of those crazy things where he tries to talk to Obama. Obama shows some level of like, yeah, I agree with you, but I don't know necessarily what the steps would be. And they kind of handle more immediate pressing issues too. So if this is more of like a long-term thing, but it's a potential severe long-term like downstream effect if it gets out of control, it's one of those things where it's like you just cross your fingers or something, I guess.
Yeah.
That it doesn't get bad.
But basically, Sam Altman and Elon Musk don't see eye to eye. Elon branches off, does his own thing, X.AI for global artificial intelligence, while Sam Altman breaks an arm off of OpenAI to make a for-profit company. And obviously, 10 years down the line, OpenAI is crazy, crazy successful, but there is some issues with why and the reason they did this, stuff like that. But Elon Musk, again, involved in almost everything that is now ginormous today that we know of. Chapter 41, the launch of Autopilot, 2014-2016. Picture of an early robo-taxi. This is where they go back and forth between doing radar and
Google wanted to do sensors and stuff like that.
Elon's like, humans just have two eyes and we do just fine. Like, cameras should be able to do that with 18 cameras or whatever and see everything all the time.
Which is crazy too, because whenever I was just in California, all of our Ubers were just like whatever random cars. But on the final one, we got taken to the airport in a Tesla. And dude, I've only been in a Tesla like once and never really like ridden in one. So like I'm watching this guy drive up there, and whenever he's shifting lanes, dude, his freaking dashboard has like every single angle of the freaking road.
Yeah.
You look front right, front left, back right, back left, straight behind you, right in front of you. I'm like, there's not a thing that you can't see in this thing. There's not a single part of the road. There are zero blind spots.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing. It's surprising we had not manufactured cars to like not have blind spots by this point. We just keep releasing the same. If you think about it, you still got to just keep releasing the same models where you got to look around a little bit. Teslas are just like, I mean, it probably costs more money, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're trying to just save money, so like that's why I do like that Elon goes the extra mile in everything.
Yeah.
Which is what ends up driving him up a wall a lot of the times.
But unfortunately, with the autopilot, there was 2 deaths that really kind of took Tesla from and tanked their stock. But we found out that one of them, the one that was famous in Florida, I actually remember hearing that article where
really,
yeah, I didn't realize that he was watching Harry Potter and wasn't even paying attention to the road, and that's what caused him to.
Someone pulled out in front of him.
It was a semi. It was a white semi, and it turned across these 3 lanes or whatever, and the Tesla was driving, and so the sensors didn't see it. It looked like it was just the sun because it was so glary, and then it ran in. But like the human could have easily saw it, but he was distracted.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't matter.
Do you recall it at all? Like what it looked like? Did it just like get stuck underneath?
Yeah,
and,
just smash like that. Yeah, just how you would imagine.
Right.
Just like bottom half went through, top half got stuck, and then obviously humans somewhere in between there.
Stop.
But
Jeez. That's
but-
graphic.
yeah, but I thought that was pretty crazy where Elon makes an statement of how he's like, oh, when 2 people die from autopilot, but the
yeah.
millions of people that die from car accidents every time doesn't get any news. It's always because of that.
Yeah, no one was tallying the lives that were saved by autopilot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, but it's like that's
Yeah.
the issue with doing new stuff, you
Yeah.
know. Like that's tough. Because they tried to they sued Tesla. He was just talking about that on the podcast too, where it's like they sued him because like they were saying that they oversold the capabilities of autopilot. Like they tried to make it seem like whenever he is continuously working for like full self-driving, and they kind of like he keeps on having to push that date back.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously that wasn't the case there, but I mean he apparently had made it seem maybe like there was a little bit more capable than it was. But I don't know. I mean, if you're just blatantly not paying attention.
And then chapter 42, solar, Tesla Energy, 2004. On Burning Man, Musk says, I want to start a new business to his cousin, Lyndon Rive, and says that we're driving in an RV to Burning Man. And then
no, that's what his cousin
that's what
says.
his cousin
His
says.
cousin says, and then Musk just gives him idea.
Yeah,
an
get
idea
into the
'cause he's got
solar
$1 million.
industry.
Get into solar.
So fast forward, Musk invests into, it was their cousins, yeah.
Yeah.
3 Rive cousins, Lyndon, Peter, and Russ all start, and Musk comes in, invests money, and then eventually buys what the company was called, Solar City. So Tesla buys Solar City. And with that, after opening the Nevada Giga Battery Factory, Tesla has begun making refrigerator-sized batteries for the home called Powerwalls, which I remember when those came out too. That was crazy.
But he didn't like the way they were running it. They were relying more on sales and like creating a great product. So
that was the issue. Is Musk said you're not even creating a good product, and then one thing led to another. They're like, well, let's not have these rinky-dink solar panels on the roof. Let's make the roof solar panels. And so then they made the solar roofs, but then originally Elon hated the look. He was like, because it's like that metal tin roof, and then he's like, no, it's got to look like an actual roof.
I saw him discussing that too. He was like, you don't want to be able to see the cell inside of the.
Yeah.
So they ended up creating it to where it's like whenever the sun is on it, like it reflects in a way to where it just looks like just a typical panel.
Normal roof, yeah. But then I thought it was very interesting that they did like a debut for the press and at Universal Studios, and they had the metal roof, and he said, get that out of there. And they took it down before he debuted everyone. It debuted the other roofs, and people
What
didn't
part
even
about I
realize
hate this T9?
it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he ends up buying the company and kind of doing it his own way, and his cousins end up leaving within a year. So tough
And
to work with Elon.
then chapter 43, the Boring Company.
This is interesting.
So interesting how they were on a flight or something, and they were just like, did you ever notice that cities are built in the 3D, but the roads are only built in 2D? And it was 2 a.m. in California. Musk calls him and says, figure out a few ideas for a standard tunneling machine to bore a simple 40-foot diameter round hole and not have to reinforce it with concrete. And or that's what the engineer came up with after. Yeah, he said it was 2 a.m. in California. Musk calls Davis, and Davis agreed to study ways to build tunnels quickly and inexpensively. Musk says, okay, I will call you back in 3 hours. So then it's 5 a.m. Davis gives him this suggestion. Hey, there's these machines out there. And he goes, great, buy 2 of them.
Cost $5
They
million.
cost $5 million each. Great, buy 2 of them and have them when I return. And he's on a plane. It's
So
5 in the morning.
Dude, yeah. So they're coming up with names for the company,
Tunnels are us.
and they choose, it shall be called the Boring Company. Boring, it's what we do.
Yep.
So funny.
So Elon Musk invests $100 million of his own money into the Boring Company. And unfortunately, by 2023, none of them have gotten underway for the projects.
But he's still done a few different things with the Boring Company. Like he launched flamethrowers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
and even like what was it? Some hats too. Like made like 40,000 hats, and they all sold out. And they launched some flamethrowers, and they all at $500 a pop.
Yeah.
$500 a pop. It's not. He says it's not officially a flamethrower, but it's like whatever is, because if it's a flamethrower, you couldn't ship it.
Yeah.
There was like shipping issues.
Yeah.
You can't ship it to different countries. So he's like, yeah, but I'm like, oh man, that's a creative little idea there.
But now, chapter 44, rocky
Rocky.
relationships. Elon Musk and Amber Heard. What a ride that was. He also meets Trump in here. He didn't really like Trump too much. He said, I forget exactly what he said about him. But he said, oh, Trump might be one of the best bull crappers ever, is what he says. Like my dad, bull crapping can sometimes baffle the brain. If you just think of Trump as some sort of con man performance, then his behavior sort of makes sense.
That's funny.
Yeah, but Amber Heard, man, and this is
He gets wrapped up with her right whenever she's coming out of her divorce with Johnny Depp.
with Johnny Depp. And
Yeah.
fast forward a couple years, after this book was definitely made. We hold the whole Johnny Depp trial, and we're like, wow, Amber Heard's crazy. And now reading about this, and you're like, whoa, Amber Heard's really crazy.
Have you guys seen that?
The trial?
Yeah.
Not like exactly. I've seen that.
Did you watch it, Doc?
I haven't seen that.
I wanted to watch it, but I know it's live, and I haven't.
I think I
I was
watched the
gonna
doc.
get around to watching
It's
what
good.
they released,
It's good.
but I haven't watched it yet.
She's crazy. She's
I'm sure.
she's wild. But like reading even this, like you're like, wow, like yeah, no, this is just her personality. It's not like it was a toxic relationship. It's like she's just like an absolutely like chaotic girl to be with. Yeah, so what was it? They were just fighting constantly, and there was a point where when Elon and Amber got to a hotel, they got into a flamethrowing fight. She locked herself into the room, in the room, started yelling that she was afraid that she would be attacked and that Elon had taken her passport. The security guards came. Kimball's wife tried to convince her that she was safe. Her passport was in her bag, and she could leave whenever she wanted. She really is a very good actress, so she will say things like, you're like, wow, maybe she is telling the truth, but she isn't.
You imagine that? You imagine someone like being so good at acting that they can make it seem believable about whatever you're doing to them. Like that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
That would be terrifying.
But then it's New Year's Eve. They make up, and then Elon wishes her a happy New Year and kisses her passionately on the lips.
Lots of
Elon,
drama.
man.
Lots
Whew.
of drama. That's not as crazy as this next part.
With
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah.
What was it?
Errol has a kid with his
Oh
stepdaughter.
yes.
With
So
the same one,
we
she
talked-
grows up.
and
Yeah,
we talked about that in the
it.
first part. Yeah.
But
Elon
she was
had
only
the
15 at that point. Now,
Yeah.
now she's older. I don't remember how old
30.
she was. 30, yeah. She's now 30, so it's about twice the time frame.
had a kid.
Had a kid. He says, whenever he said one thing led to another, we were both lonely and lost people. You can call it God's plan or nature's plan. I don't think that's God's plan.
No.
I don't think that was God's plan.
Yeah, and then that's where Kimball officially says like, "No, you're no longer in my life." For his dad.
Just disgraces him. Says he
Yeah.
was such a terrible human being. Almost every crime you can possibly think of, he's done. Like,
Yeah. But-
brutal, man. And like this is just someone that flies under the radar. We just know about him because of the book.
Yeah.
Right.
Think about
Exactly.
how many. I mean, yeah.
But moving on, chapter 45. This is where it gets crazy for Elon. So after his fight with Amber Heard, 2017, 2018 would be the most hellacious period of his life, even
Mhm.
worse than the crisis of 2008. That was the time, the most concentrated pain I have ever had, he says. 18 months of unrelenting insanity. It was
Mm.
mind-bogglingly painful. And I mean,
Just going through some bipolar stuff.
right, just a breakup,
Mhm.
then people asking him on Twitter if he's bipolar. He said yeah. And then
He
the
gets
model
himself doing trouble on Twitter sometimes.
we find out. Yep. But
He gets himself some
the
trouble.
Model 3 starts rolling into production, and it was just one thing after the other, just bad, just just more and more trouble. Not only there, but then even at the Gigafactory where the batteries were made, because the goal for Elon was to do 5,000 cars a week. Would be a huge challenge, and right now Tesla's only making half that rate.
Not even. I thought he was like 1,500 or something.
It said
What did it say?
2017, one primary focus ramping up production. Tesla was churning out 5,000 models per week. He had done the calculations, come to cost, blah blah blah. It would basically Tesla would have to make 5,000 per week to keep afloat, is what it was.
Right.
So that was his goal. I think they were making. It says they were making half. Tesla was making cars at only half that rate.
Maybe it was 25 then. For some
But-
reason, I thought it was.
But yeah, at most they could make is 1,800.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're right, Tesla's
That's what they
dead.
were saying.
Yeah. So that's what he was getting from people in the Gigafactory. He's like, hey, we can only make 1,800 per week. And he said, well, at that rate, then Tesla's dead. So then Elon took charge, going through, just walking up and
He
down
just starts
the
trying to
factory.
find ways to just make it more efficient.
Yeah.
Like he starts having people test certain things. Like, do we need this? If not, take it away.
Yep.
This is where he kind of starts to implement the whole like.
Yeah, the sound
You know.
fiberglass
Yeah,
in the bottom for
yeah.
just sound reduction. Yeah. Deleting, adding, deleting, just going through an absolute.
This is where he just absolutely violates that employee. Just annihilates him. He's like young manufacturing engineer,
Gage.
excited to meet him. Ends up being like, hey, are you the one that did this? He's been living out of his suitcase for years, just working on Tesla all the time. Calls him an idiot. Get the hell out and don't come back.
Fires him.
Like, jeez.
Yep.
So
At
this is
least
where you
Elon
see-
knew their names.
But this is where he talks about the whole de-automation thing, where he starts to like, instead of being someone who was like just a disciple of, use robots to get everything done, he's like, they start just getting rid of equipment that can be done more efficiently. He's like, oh, can I do this faster?
Yeah.
Putting the seal on.
Yep.
Okay, I can do this faster. Get this machine out of here. They drill a hole in the side of the wall.
They cut
Just
just a
start saying
hole
just
in the
like-
building.
Yeah, this is where he's talking about making sure you question all the requirements, because a lot of times it'll just be on there for not
Yep.
an important enough reason to keep it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can just tell, like, yeah, that photo at the very end where he's watching SpaceX launch, but he's also looking at the numbers of cars production, or production. But yep, chapter 46, Fremont factory hell, Tesla in 2018.
The short sellers part, that's a
Yeah.
little callback to
Yep. So obviously he's trying to do the 5,000 cars a week. But yeah, so there's a ton of short sellers out there saying they're not going to hit it. Elon is says he believes that short sellers were not merely skeptics, but evil. They are leeches on the neck of business. The short sellers publicly attacked Tesla and Musk personally. He would scroll through Twitter feeds, seething about the false information. Even worse, the true information. They had up-to-date data from sources in the company and drones that flew over to the factory, giving them numbers in real time, he says. That is crazy. But
so this is where he ties himself to that $100 billion pay package.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it was
payout.
but it was all tied to incentives. Like you had to reach this number, otherwise you weren't even going to get paid.
yeah,
so,
or if he was going to get zero.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
But yeah, just laying on the ground.
I thought it was It talks a
sleeping
little bit. He
under
was
his
like,
desk.
it talks about how on a good day he made 100 commands and decisions when he walked the floor. He's like, at least 20% are going to be wrong, but we'll adjust them later. But if we don't make decisions, we die. So it just gives you a little bit of insight into just how many important things he's trying to switch up just to
Yeah.
try and make it faster.
And he's really thinking it is death. Like, he dies almost.
Yeah.
And then, luckily, they think of the ingenious idea of the tent, where they go out and they're like, we need more room in the factory to produce more cars, but we don't have enough space. And then they look into the laws and they're like, well, we could put a temporary tent up and that would work, and we'll pay the fine later, pay the zoning fine later. He says, and then he's quoted with, if conventional thinking makes your mission impossible, then unconventional thinking is necessary. But with the
after 3 weeks of the tent being up, they're rolling out
yep,
cars.
1,000 feet long, 150 feet wide, big enough to accommodate a makeshift assembly line. Instead of robots, there was humans on each station.
But this goes back to that whole Steve Jobs, Elon Musk thing with how they pushed the needle, where it's like they did say that a lot of the employees said they were pressured to take shortcuts to meet the production goals.
Yeah.
And they said that Tesla's injury rate was 30% higher than the rest of the industry.
Oh yeah, no, there's
So that's
definitely
just
some
like,
risk.
yeah, there's like, I mean, the gamble that you got to take, I guess, sometimes to try and get that done. But they end up getting it on his birthday. They get his 5,000th car produced
Yeah,
on his birthday, which was kind of cool.
yeah, exactly.
He wasn't even in town. He was out of town whenever it happened.
5,000,
Got a text
pulls it
about
off. Tesla's stock jumps through the roof when they're producing that many. And I thought this was a cool quote of saying when he says, when hiring, look for the people with the right attitude. Skills can be taught. Attitude changes require a brain transplant.
I thought I highlighted that too. I point because that's part of the algorithm, which is we won't go over all of them, but it had 5 commandments, question every requirement, delete the process, like certain things like that. But I just highlighted that one specifically. That was one of like the subset characteristics. I said that's ironic.
Yeah.
When you're hiring, look for people with the right attitude.
Yep.
I wonder how many people in the world of Elon Musk would say he has the right attitude, which is just tough. I mean, he's got the right idea,
Yeah.
right attitude. I don't know about that.
And then jumping over, open loop warning. This is when that cave collapsed in Thailand. And
He gets into it with the guy on Twitter.
He gets into it.
Gosh.
So basically, yeah, the cave happened. He wanted to help out. He got some Tesla engineers,
Built
tried to
the
do the
sub.
sub, Next thing you know, they don't need the sub, whatever. People are saying they just did that on purpose. It was
For
a
a
PR
PR,
stunt. Absolutely no chance of working, as this one guy said. And then Elon
Stock
says,
fell 3.5%.
yeah, whatever, pedal guy. Yeah, and then, yep, 3.5%
Drop.
just off that.
And they're trying to get him to drop to
Apologize.
basically apologize, and he's like, I'm not doing it. And then eventually, I think it's Kimball, right, who gets him to kind of accept it. Just be like, look, this is good for you. You need to do it. Yeah, Kimball believed that Musk turmoil was triggered by. This is all happening during that time period with Amber Heard.
Yeah.
So he's like, this is just. Like, I mean, even the Tesla investors were all getting concerned with it, which is how he was behaving and stuff.
Yeah.
He was kind of like a loose cannon. So they even talk about it. This is where the term's discussed as open loop, meaning that they didn't have an iterative feedback and they don't seem to care about the outcomes. That's when they're supposed to. His friends are supposed to talk to him like open loop. Like, hey, you're self-destructing, basically. Like, you don't even care about the results. Like,
yep. And then jumping to like 291, we find out there was some whispers, some rumors of Saudi Arabia taking accumulating 5% of Tesla shares. and we're in talks of taking Tesla private, but wasn't official. He's on his way back, and
Pulls up Twitter.
Musk just feels like tweeting. Am considering taking Tesla private at $420, funding secured, and then the stock shoots up 7% before SEC promptly pulls the stock off the exchange and opens up an investigation, and then just gets a nice little fat fine of $40 million. There was threats from the SEC saying you would never be able to run a public company again from this federal lawsuit. So he steps down as a chairman and pays a $40 million fine and puts up 2 independent directors on his board, is what it comes down to. So
they started asking him, like, what was his state of mind and stuff like that, and they're just thinking that this is just the acts of someone who is not. So they're trying to get him to step down as chairman, pay $40 million fine, not be allowed to make public comments or tweets. He's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do that.
Yeah. And then that's where his brother comes in, right, and convinces him just to take it down, or to take the
take the deal.
Yeah.
To take the deal.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, and then he jokes that SEC and the E stands for Elon.
Yeah, did we all put that together, I'm assuming?
No.
What did you?
Oh, like suck.
Elon's.
Oh.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Chicken. Gotcha.
Chicken.
And then if that wasn't enough, 48, the infamous meme of Elon and Joe Rogan.
Crazy. I'm not even to this part of the podcast.
Oh man.
Yeah, so he goes on to Joe Rogan. So they have him, his PR team basically, his people are just telling him, like, hey, you need to go clear the air. You need to go, like, speak for yourself, essentially. There's all these people talking for you. So he's like, all right, find a way to do it. He goes on the Joe Rogan show to they want to do it on a long interview platform where he can, like, squash the speculations and stuff. But I haven't gotten to this part. But he's doing the interview, and it seems like Rogan lights up marijuana inside of tobacco, and something he's known for doing on the podcast. Says you probably shouldn't do it. He gives him the out, I guess. I haven't gotten there yet, but he gives him the out.
But
he says, is it legal, right?
Yeah.
Totally legal. Apparently just not legal with the operation that he's running, which is interesting.
what's federal?
Yeah.
Federal, it's legal. State, it isn't. But you're running a federal company, public.
That's what it was.
So it's not. But it's not a. What happened was it was just it.
He didn't break
it.
No,
he didn't break any laws.
He didn't break the state law. He broke the federal law.
Right.
Right.
But and I guess the investors' point of view, they're like, hey man, this guy's partying and on Joe Rogan and smoking weed and stuff, and so his Tesla stock plunged 9% down.
And then he got subjected to random drug tests for years. He's like, I don't even like doing drugs, but this is, like, now going to be your consequence.
Oh man. Yeah, well, that was the other thing too, is people thought the other issue is because he was associated with SpaceX and NASA, and NASA's has federal regulations, and so it may appear to have broken a federal regulation through that NASA and SpaceX. Crazy enough.
Getting a phone call. I'm getting a phone call right now. I don't know if I should take it.
Just text him.
I'll just text him.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll keep it moving. Then this is the next part they talk about. We can get into that real quick, where he ruptures Kimball's relationship.
Yeah. Some beef. Brother beef. Kimball was a chef, basically a chef, owned restaurants. Restaurants were doing a little bad. So then Kimball asked Elon for $10 million in as a loan.
Funding, right? Yeah, just
Yeah.
funding for it.
The round was going to be about $40 million. Elon said we need about do $10 million. Elon initially agreed. I remember, says Kimball, writing it down in my journal, unconditional love for Elon.
This is sad.
And then what was
This is
it?
sad.
Eventually Elon
Runs
relented.
it by his finance guy.
Yep.
Runs it by his finance guy. Says it's not a good idea, dying industry. And then Kimball with the guy. I told Chase, I'm like, this is a good rebuttal. It's like, what would they have said about Tesla's stock
Yeah.
and Tesla's investment whenever you guys were trying to do that, and somehow you got it to kind of blow through, or SpaceX or any of that. And I'm like, gosh dang, that's unfortunately he made a good point there. So it felt like he's lost his brother that day. And then of course, in typical Elon fashion, he's not the one that reaches out. It's his brother that does because he missed him, and Elon just responded like nothing had happened. That's just how Elon is. That would be exhausting. That'd be tough.
And also the other co-founder, J.B. Straubel, leaves Tesla.
Yep.
He was there for 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a good leave, though. He was sad, but he said it was necessary.
Yeah.
And invited him to the event, but then eventually would leave. Did that a few weeks
Yeah,
later.
they were supposed to do it, and then ended up doing it a little bit later.
Yeah.
Like they set up this whole press conference almost type thing to do it.
Yeah.
And then they ended up just reminiscing and couldn't get either of them to do it. They
Yeah.
were both okay with this, so they just kind of did it in private down the line.
And
So
then
we're almost done. Wrapping it up, chapter 49. Maybe we got one more
49.
chapter after that.
this is where Claire Boucher, Boucher, known as Boucher.
I don't know.
Oh, I was to say there's an R though. Claire
It's
Boucher,
French.
known as Grimes, and Elon Musk start dating. And she is very odd as well. Fits Elon's type. She was like kind of in like
They got into a Twitter exchange first. That's
She,
how
like,
they met each other.
DJ or what is she? She's kind of like some performance artist, right?
Yeah.
I've never heard of her. I still never have heard of what she's done or anything like that.
She was a artist producing music.
Right. But like I've never heard of any of her
Oh
stuff
yeah,
or
no,
anything
not
like
that. There's probably. I mean, I've only heard of like 10 people's stuff.
Yeah. And then so very very big into Lord of the Rings, stuff like that.
was a
And
requirement.
as a gift, she gave him a box of animal bones that she had collected. So if that doesn't kind of give you a little bit of background context on her,
Yeah.
she's a little
It's a sound the alarms.
eclectic, I would say.
Yeah, but apparently, she starts to just stay over at his house with him because he did not want to be lonely, and she just started working,
Yeah.
kind of doing work stuff at her house, or at his house.
Yep.
And then Elon goes out of town, and she's supposed to hang out with this friend, and her friend ends up coming over and finds out that she's not going to be there, so she's just offered to stay at the house. And she doesn't like how that kind of goes down.
Yeah, blew her off the
Kind of
recording
felt like she
session
was
off.
blown off,
Yeah.
for the recording session, and just
Azealia
unleashed
Banks.
on Instagram.
Yep. Azealia Banks went off, and that was just
Coddled her boyfriend for being too stupid to know not tweet on acid, essentially. And then it got worse. Like she started tweeting like Elon's better hiring an escort. She would keep her mouth shut. He's got there's words on here that we're not gonna say, but like starts calling his girlfriend a meth head. Junkie.
she was just going off.
Talks about him not she brings up the Amber Heard thing again. Says that he's on the spectrum. Something's not right with him. Like he's some type of alien, a mutant. Like, dude, this like just the word, like just the amount of like that. Gosh, she ends up apologizing for it too, I think. But yeah, that was crazy. That leads to Grimes actually writing a song about it. Have you guys listened to the song? I'm curious what that song's like. She ends up writing a song called 100% Tragedy that was about having to defeat Azealia Banks when she tried to destroy my life. So that was
But
crazy.
yeah, we get a little bit of perspective from her perspective on Elon. She says, my favorite version of E is the one who's down for Burning Man and will sleep on a couch, eat canned soup, and be chill. Her Biet Noir is the Elon that is what she calls demon mode. Demon mode is where he goes dark and retreats inside the storm in his brain. So which was interesting way to put his kind of like turmoil of it.
And she sees it the same way through the same lens of of his employees, where it's like demon mode causes a ton of chaos, but it gets stuff done.
Yep.
It's kind of was her summation of kind of his character. But it can change quick. That's what she talks about. You can feel it. It's one of those things. You can feel it in the air. If you've ever like even been around some of those people where it's just like, I mean, and it's honestly probably most people in general where like you can just tell like, oh, okay, like it's a little off.
Yeah.
Like whatever this is, like someone's maybe going through something or dealing with something because it's just a little off right now.
Yeah.
So he just happens to like go in and out of that often, it seems. But that wraps it. That wraps up that portion. My goodness.
Absolute
My goodness.
thick. So many. That was 25 chapters. Yeah, everyone take a stretch. Roll the neck.
For real.
That was a lot of, and we jumped over things.
We tried.
a lot of
I gotta
details.
stop highlighting so
A
much.
lot
I
of details.
Got to stop.
I mean, and it's still right now we're still at an hour 20 run time right now. But guys, next up, chapter 50 all the way to chapter 75. Another 25 chapters to go, and yeah, just so much has gone.
We've learned so much. And
Oh
we're
my
halfway
goodness!
Through the
Like if I ever see Elon, I'm just like, dude,
yeah.
this guy has gone through
What
it.
are you gonna say? You know what he's gonna say? I don't care about you.
That's fine. I'll be like, I know, I
know a lot about.
just gotta get a handshake and be like, man, you've gone through a lot.
Dude, yeah, for real. Just like that empath.
That's just
that empath handshake.
just like
Just-
respect.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you understand me. Yeah, dude, for real though, because I mean, I've never been like. I mean, I'm very fascinated by just this guy with everything he's doing. He's because he's relevant to like everything that's going on right now.
Dude, he seems
Like
to
it's
have
not like
literally
it's not like
everything.
we're reading a book about someone else who's influential, like Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
Like this is taking shape right now.
Yeah, in real time.
Like it's talked about his purchasing of Twitter, which was a year or two ago, like
Yeah.
just years ago.
Yep.
Like, so I mean, this is all so current and it's all still happening. It's a perfect blend of like everything that's happened over our actual adult lifetime.
The man just doesn't stop, man. The man just
No.
does not stop. I was like, no wonder this book is so long. And this is only, he's not even gone yet. I can't imagine what he's still
he's doing
He's
now.
only, he's not even 60 yet. Like, he's still got another easy 20 years.
Yeah, man. Hopefully he stays cooking because, gosh, it's one of those things where you just you don't want to end up being like the what ifs,
Oh.
whenever with Kobe Bryant
Yeah.
and the certain stuff like that. Like this is where like what if the book ended with malaria?
Oh, that would be
You
it.
know?
Yeah.
Like he got the malaria, could have ended.
You wouldn't
right
have
there.
a book.
Could have ended right there. No, I mean
Yeah.
there was enough in the front portion of that book. He might have still had one, but
It wouldn't.
it would have ended like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. But,
So
all right. Well, yes, guys. So if you are listening or you're watching, make sure you read up chapter 50 all the way up to chapter 75 is what we're going to be doing for our part 3 of the Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. But now we're going to transition into our short snippets. Miguel, hit us off with a quote of the day.
let's keep them
Let's
short today, boys.
go. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you.
Ooh. Nice. Landon, up next.
Fun fact. I got two. We'll make them both quick. Did you know that beards are the fastest growing hairs on the human body?
Really?
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
The fastest.
Well, can you tell this one patch to start? Because I have this one patch where it's not growing at all.
Yeah, that's why you just gotta shave.
Dermal
I like the shit. I like the shave feel. Oh, the derma roller, dude. I used to have one of those. I only use it like
Does
a
it
couple
actually
of times.
work?
I don't. I
Some
mean,
people it works for. Because really, it's just your pores.
just trying to
like
open them
open
up,
'em up.
right? Just
Yeah.
trying to open them up.
There you go.
I don't know. Yeah, it might work. My other fun fact is everyone has a unique smell, except for identical twins. They smell the exact same.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That is crazy.
Everyone has a
Test
unique
that.
smell.
See them. Some twins.
Would you know
We
some
gonna
twins?
Close your eyes.
you
and
know-
see?
My fiance's nephews. Yeah.
Are identical.
It doesn't seem like the craziest thing, but I don't know any
Like,
twins.
Miguel, what are you doing over there sniffing the
Hey,
kids?
can I just smell you, please?
Newborns too.
Oh,
well, there you go. No, so that is way less weird than smelling like some twin like 25-year-olds.
Yeah, some adults.
Yeah. No, you can probably get away with that a little easier.
All right. Here we go. Am I wrong?
Here we go.
We have 3 options for you guys
Oh, we are
today.
doing
Am I
options.
wrong for being disrespectful by telling my parents good luck with that when they tried to ground me? Am I wrong for flipping out on my fiance after her daughter almost got me arrested? Or am I wrong for refusing to pay my girlfriend's plane ticket after she decided to stay longer on her trip without me? Which one are we going with, gentlemen?
Oh, jeez. What are you feeling?
It's like I like the second and third, but
What was the second one again?
Am I wrong for flipping out on my fiance after her daughter almost got me arrested?
I feel like we went some with that last time.
Okay.
You want to go with the back one?
The third
Go
one?
with the third one?
Am
Alright.
I wrong for refusing to pay for my girlfriend's plane ticket after she decided to stay longer on her trip without me? So here's the deal. My I am or my 28
Come on, brother.
oh it's no it's not me. It's not me on this one. So here's the deal. I'm 28 male. My girlfriend is 27 female. Of the 2 years, I planned a 2-week vacation to Italy. I paid for the flights, hotels, everything because it made more sense. I make more than she does, and I wanted to be a stress-free trip for both of us. Everything was great until the last day when she tells me she wants to stay longer to find herself. And think about it, and think about our relationship without me. She didn't discuss this with me beforehand and completely blindsided me. I was hurt, and I told her that if she feels that way, she needs the time alone, then she would also be independent financially during the extension of her trip. And I said I wouldn't be paying for her new return ticket whenever she decides to come back. Now she's upset, calling me unsupportive and selfish, and some of our friends are saying I am being a-hole because I left her stranded in a foreign country without financial help. So, am I wrong for refusing to pay her for her new plane ticket home after she chose to extend her trip without any heads up?
Go, Miguel.
Absolutely. I don't think this person's wrong at all. I think if that was the situation, right? You knew you were going on this trip.
We just got to go with what we got. Yeah, that's the situation.
Like I don't think this person's wrong because it's like if you're wanting to do all that, you could do that on your own time. And it sounds personally hearing that, it sounds like okay, I'm getting ready to break up. But thanks for this 2-week long vacation.
Yeah, what?
Bro, what in the timing is that?
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, friend.
Landon?
Not wrong at all. Not wrong at all. That's crazy. That's crazy. You want to stay back later than
Find
plan just to
herself.
be without your boyfriend, which is gonna make someone feel a certain type of way. But this is fiance or is it boyfriend? It's boyfriend, right?
It is girlfriend. Yes.
Girlfriend and boyfriend. So like, yeah, no. If you want to, yeah. I mean,
Yikes.
if you're worried about finding yourself and your feelings, then probably worry about paying for yourself and your feelings.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's
Especially if you find, dude, that's a like literally like that makes you that's just
Blindsided,
an
bro.
infuriating situation.
Day 14 of the trip, going back to America.
Hey,
Psych.
I actually want to stay. Yeah, it just makes you, man, that would make you think all types of things. Like, did she meet someone while she was down here that she's trying to, like,
yes.
It's making me think of
That's
some
the-
other ways. I'm going to Italy soon, too.
Like, come on, bro.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
do you imagine?
Dude,
Yeah,
I
you guys are
cannot
engaged.
imagine.
It's different. Entirely
Hopefully.
totally.
We'll find out.
Yeah, dude, yeah,
But-
keep us posted.
Wild.
Yeah, bro.
Dude, that is, oh, wait, all right, what's your answer?
I agree. I mean, come on now. I mean, this
Jeez,
is a
I mean, I
no-brainer.
was thinking it was
This
going to
is
be,
a
like,
no-brainer.
that, yeah. I
What
was
in
thinking
the
there was going to
world?
be something like if it was flip.
Mhm.
Like, if he's like, all right, I don't want to be with you anymore. And since that's the case, I'm not going to pay for your flight back.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, that'd be
That would
good. That'd be a little
definitely.
different.
Be
But-
different. Yeah, but I mean, what way? I'm now in my head trying to think what's the scenario where he wouldn't be wrong?
He
where
wouldn't
he
be
would
wrong?
be wrong. Yeah.
You would be wrong.
Yeah, that I mean, like, is that the scenario? Because like this scenario seems so like yes, obviously.
If she wanted to stay,
Leaving her stranded, your ticket has been purchased to come home on this day. It was not agreed
Yeah,
upon that
I
you
don't
can
know.
just stay longer.
I just think there's no scenario
What?
where he would be wrong.
Yeah, I can't think of it.
Even if they got in a fight or anything, he still bought her the ticket.
Yeah, it's around.
You
You
bought it
know.
all ahead of time. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, you got to fly next to your boyfriend who cheated on you. Now you don't want to be with him. Then that's one thing.
Yeah.
But he already paid for it. So you
Right.
can't just be like, even into that,
Right.
like, well, since you did that,
Just
I'm
request
staying
a
back
new
and I'm
seat.
going to find
Yeah.
myself. Like,
I don't know.
literally can't. It just can't work
Rough.
that way.
Rough for sure. But yep, that's going to have to wrap it up for this episode of the Book Club Pros podcast. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. Remember, if you are reading along, make sure to purchase the book down in the description. Help support the podcast and keep the show going and the lights going. And if you are reading along, remember chapter 50 to 75, guys, is what we're going to be reading next. And we will be back next Wednesday. Take care. Peace.